I'm someone who understands that the legal system doesn't work for everyone. People like Victor buy their way out of consequences. So yes, I'm building a case that will destroy not just him but his entire network. And yes, I've had to get my hands dirty to do it. Emma felt tears sting her eyes. And me? Am I just another tool you're using? Damien's expression softened. He stepped closer, his hands gently gripping her shoulders. No. God, no. Emma, everything I told you about my feelings was true. You were never supposed to be part of this. That's why I tried to keep it professional. But I fell for you anyway. And now I'm terrified because involving you puts you in danger. What kind of danger? Victor knows now that we're serious about each other. He'll try to use you against me. And there are others in his network who are even more ruthless than he is. Damien's hands moved to cup her face. I should send you away. Keep you safe. But I'm too selfish. I need you, Emma. Not for the plan. For me. Emma searched his eyes, looking for deception and finding only raw honesty. If we do this, if we really take down Victor and his network, we could lose everything. I know. We could go to prison if anything goes wrong. I know. And we might not survive if they come after us. I know. Damien's thumb traced her cheekbone gently. So what do you want to do? Emma thought about her old life, safe and small. Then she thought about Victor, who had destroyed so many lives without consequence. About Damien's father and all the other victims. And about herself, the woman who had been treated as a trophy and then discarded. I want to fight, she said firmly. But I want the whole truth. No more secrets. If we're doing this together, then we're really together. Partners in every way. A slow smile spread across Damien's face. Partners in every way. I can agree to that. That's ridiculous. Victor is lying to you. Maybe. But what if he's not? What if you're being used as part of some elaborate scheme where both you and Victor end up destroyed, and Damien walks away clean? Rebecca put her hand on Emma's arm. I know I don't deserve your trust, but please be careful. Don't let another man use you. After Rebecca left, Emma sat alone in the cafe, her mind spinning. She wanted to dismiss everything Rebecca had said as lies and manipulation, but doubt had been planted. Emma thought about the wall in Damien's office, the years of planning, the coldness in his eyes when he talked about Victor. That night, Emma went to Damien's penthouse unannounced. She used the key he had given her and walked into his office. The wall of evidence was there just as before. But this time Emma looked more carefully. She found files on people other than Victor. Business associates, politicians, even judges. Whatever Damien was planning, it was bigger than he had told her. Looking for something, Emma spun around to find Damien standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Rebecca came to see me today. She said you're framing Victor for crimes you committed. And you believed her? I don't know what to believe anymore. Emma's voice rose with frustration. You said this was about justice for your father, but this looks like something else. Something bigger and darker. Damien walked into the room, and for the first time, Emma felt a flicker of fear. You want the truth? Fine. Yes, this is bigger than I told you. Victor didn't just destroy my family's company. He's part of a network of corrupt businessmen who manipulate markets, exploit workers, and destroy anyone who stands in their way. My father's death was just one casualty. So you're what? Some kind of vigilante. Let him look. I have nothing to hide. Everyone has something to hide, Emma. And Victor is good at finding weaknesses and exploiting them. ####the betrayal revealed. 2 days later, Emma received an unexpected visitor at the cafe. Rebecca walked in looking exhausted and worried. Her baby bump was more prominent now, and she seemed smaller somehow, less confident than Emma remembered. What are you doing here? Emma asked coldly. I need to talk to you. Please, Emma. Just 5 minutes. Against her better judgment, Emma led Rebecca to a quiet corner table. Make it quick. Rebecca twisted her hands nervously. I came to warn you about Damien Cross. He's not who you think he is. Let me guess. Victor sent you to tell me this. No. I mean, yes, Victor knows I'm here, but he doesn't know what I'm going to say. Rebecca looked up, and Emma was shocked to see tears in her eyes. I made a terrible mistake betraying you. Victor is not a good man. And I think Damien might be just as dangerous. Why should I believe anything you say? Because I'm trapped, Emma. Victor controls everything. My money, my apartment, even my medical care for the baby. When I found out I was pregnant, I thought he would be happy. Instead, he started talking about how the baby would be good for his image. How being a father would make people see him as stable and caring. Emma felt a chill. Rebecca, why are you really here? Rebecca leaned forward, lowering her voice. Victor's investigation found something about Damien. He's not just trying to ruin Victor's reputation. He's planning to frame Victor for corporate crimes that Damien himself might have committed. I don't know all the details, but Victor showed me documents that suggest Damien has been setting this up for years. He signed off on the modifications himself. I have proof. But I can't go to the authorities yet because he has lawyers and connections that could bury it all. I need more. I need multiple angles of attack, including his reputation, before I can bring criminal charges that will actually stick. Emma walked closer to the wall, reading through the documents. There were emails, financial records, testimony from former employees. You've been gathering this for years. Yes. And I'm just one part of your plan. Damien turned to face her, his expression serious. You were first. But Emma, somewhere along the way, this became about more than revenge. What do you mean? He stepped closer, close enough that Emma could see the silver flecks in his gray eyes. I mean that pretending to care about you has become the easiest role I've ever played. Because I'm not pretending anymore. Emma's breath caught. Damien, we agreed this was business only. I know what we agreed. But somewhere between the gala and tonight I started falling for you. The real you. Not the woman who helps me with my plans, but the woman who rebuilt her life after having it destroyed. The woman who works at a cafe and treats every customer with kindness. The woman who is strong enough to face her demons and brave enough to fight back. This is too complicated, Emma whispered, even as her heart raced. We can't have real feelings. It will ruin everything. Maybe. Or maybe it will make us stronger. Damien reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I won't push you, Emma. But I need you to know the truth. What I feel for you is real. Before Emma could respond, Damien's phone rang. He answered it, and his expression immediately darkened. When? Are you sure? He hung up and looked at Emma with concern. That was my security team. Victor has hired a private investigator to dig into your background and mine. He's looking for something to use against us. They walked away before Victor could respond, leaving him fuming at the bar. Once they were out of earshot, Emma realized she was shaking. You did perfectly, Damien said softly, his hand still on her back, warm and reassuring. Did you see his face? He was furious. Good. That's exactly what we want. Now he knows we're serious. And his pride won't let him ignore us. #### secrets in the shadows. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Damien's fake relationship became the talk of high society. They were photographed at restaurants, art galleries, and business functions. Damien was the perfect pretend boyfriend, attentive, charming, and always making Emma feel valued in a way Victor never had. But Emma was starting to notice things that didn't add up. Damien sometimes received late-night phone calls that he would step away to take in private. He had security guards who followed them at a discreet distance. And once, when they were at his penthouse apartment going over plans, Emma saw a wall in his office covered with photographs, documents, and notes all about Victor's business dealings. Damien, how long have you been planning this? She asked, studying the wall. He looked up from his laptop, following her gaze. Since the day my father died. This is more than just making Victor jealous, isn't it? You're building a case against him. Damien stood and walked to the wall, his finger tracing over a particular document. Victor's company didn't just destroy my family's business. They sold faulty medical equipment to hospitals. Equipment that my father's company had designed to save lives. Victor's people modified the designs to cut costs, making them dangerous. 3 people died using that equipment before it was recalled. Emma felt her blood run cold. 3 people died? And Victor knew. Victor recovered quickly, his businessman mask sliding back into place. Damien Cross. I heard you were back in town. I didn't realize you knew Emma. Know her. Damien smiled, pulling Emma closer. Emma is my fiancé. We've been together for 2 months now. I'm the luckiest man here tonight. The shock on both Victor's and Rebecca's faces was priceless. Emma saw Rebecca's hand instinctively move to her stomach, as if protecting her baby from some threat. Victor's jaw tightened, a muscle twitching in his cheek. Fiancé. Rebecca's voice was sharp. That's awfully fast, Emma. Didn't you spend months planning our wedding? That was different, Emma said sweetly. That was trying to force something that wasn't real. With Damien, everything just fell into place. When you know, you know. Victor's eyes narrowed as he studied Damien. Cross. Why does that name sound familiar? Perhaps you remember Cross Pharmaceuticals? You acquired it 5 years ago. Understanding dawned on Victor's face, followed immediately by calculation. Ah yes, that was a smart business move. I'm sure your family was well compensated. My father died 3 months after you destroyed his company, Damien said, his voice dangerously quiet. But yes, we were compensated, which gave me the capital to build something even more successful. I should thank you, really. The tension between the two men was thick enough to cut. Emma could see Victor reassessing the situation, trying to figure out if Damien was a threat, or just another businessman he could eventually dominate. Well, congratulations on your engagement, Victor said finally, his tone condescending. I hope this one actually makes it to the altar, Emma. Oh, we will, Emma replied confidently. Because unlike you, Damien is actually capable of loving someone other than himself. And what if he tries to hurt us? You said yourself he's powerful. Damien's eyes met hers steadily. I won't let anything happen to you, Emma. You have my word. There was something in his voice that made Emma believe him. Despite barely knowing this man, she felt safer with him than she had in months. Maybe because they shared a common enemy, or maybe because Damien treated her like an equal partner, not a prop to display like Victor had. ####the first encounter. The charity gala was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, live orchestra, and hundreds of the city's elite dressed in their finest. Emma wore a stunning red dress that Damien had sent to her apartment. It fit perfectly and made her feel powerful in a way she hadn't felt since her wedding day. Damien picked her up in a black luxury car, and when she stepped inside, she found him staring at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. What? She asked self-consciously. Nothing. You just look exactly like someone who belongs in my world. Victor was a fool to lose you. At the gala, they made an entrance that turned heads. Damien kept his hand on the small of Emma's back, guiding her through the crowd. He introduced her to business associates and philanthropists, always referring to her as my Emma, in a way that sounded both possessive and protective. Then Emma saw him. Victor, standing near the bar with Rebecca beside him. Rebecca's baby bump was just starting to show beneath her expensive dress. Victor's eyes widened when he spotted Emma, and his confident smile faltered for just a moment. Ready? Damien whispered in her ear. Emma nodded, though her heart was pounding. They walked directly toward Victor and Rebecca, not giving them a chance to avoid the encounter. Victor, Rebecca, Damien said smoothly. What a pleasant surprise. You look beautiful, he said, sitting across from her. His tone was professional, but Emma noticed the way his eyes lingered on her face. Thank you. Can we get to business? Damien smiled slightly. Direct. I appreciate that. He pulled out a tablet and showed her a detailed plan. Victor is hosting a charity gala next week for children's hospitals. It's his attempt to rebuild his image as a caring philanthropist. We'll attend together. I've already purchased a table. Won't that seem suspicious? You suddenly appearing with me? No. I've been back in the city for 3 months, quietly rebuilding business connections. No one knows about the connection between my family's company and Victor's acquisition. To the public, we're just 2 successful businesspeople who happen to be dating. Emma studied the plan on his tablet. It was thorough and detailed. Damien had thought of everything from what they would wear to how they would interact in public. You've done this before. What? Planned revenge? No. Manipulated people. Damien's expression hardened. I've spent 5 years learning how men like Victor operate. They care about 3 things: money, power, and image. We can't touch his money yet. We can't directly challenge his power, but we can absolutely destroy his image. And once that's gone, the rest will crumble. Over dinner, Damien explained his full plan. They would appear together at high society events, looking happy and in love. Damien would make sure Victor knew exactly who he was and how successful he had become. The goal was to make Victor feel inferior and jealous, to push him into making mistakes that would expose his true character. What kind of mistakes? Emma asked. Victor has a temper when his ego is threatened. I've seen it before. He'll try to intimidate me, to buy me off, or to discredit you. Any of those actions will reveal his true nature to the people he's trying to impress. Everything Damien had told her was true. Emma stared at his business card for a long time. She thought about her small apartment, her cafe job, her quiet life. Then she thought about justice. Not just for herself, but for Damien's father and all the other people Victor had hurt over the years. She picked up her phone and dialed the number on the card. Damien answered on the second ring. I have conditions, Emma said without preamble. I'm listening. First, this is purely business. No actual relationship between us. Second, I want access to any information you have about Victor's business practices. If we're going to destroy him, I want it to be for real crimes, not just hurt feelings. And third, when this is over, we go our separate ways. Clean break. No complications. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Damien said, Agreed. All of it. When can we meet to discuss the details? Tomorrow night. 7 p.m. There's a restaurant called Giuseppe's on 5th Street. I'll be there. And Emma? You're making the right choice. After she hung up, Emma wasn't sure if she had made the right choice at all. But she was sure of one thing. Victor Ashford had taken everything from her once. Now it was time to return the favor. And with Damien Cross as her ally, she finally had the power to do it. ## Part 2. The Web of Deception, 2,000 words. ## Playing the perfect couple. The restaurant was intimate and upscale, with soft lighting and quiet conversations. Emma arrived 10 minutes early, wearing a simple black dress she had borrowed from her sister. She felt underdressed among the wealthy patrons, but Damien had insisted they meet somewhere Victor's friends might see them. Damien arrived exactly on time, looking even more impressive than he had at the cafe. He wore a dark blue suit that fit him perfectly, and several people in the restaurant turned to look at him as he walked to Emma's table. Even if I wanted to help you, which I don't, why would I trust you? I don't know you. This could be some elaborate scheme. Damien reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. Fair enough. Do your research on me. Damien Cross, CEO of Cross Industries. Everything I've told you can be verified. When you're ready to talk, call me. I'll be in the city for 1 more week. After that, the offer expires. He left money on the counter for the coffee and walked toward the door. Emma called after him. And what do you get out of this? Damien turned back, and for a moment the mask of cool control slipped. She saw pure rage burning in his eyes. I get to watch the man who destroyed my family lose everything he values. Starting with his reputation, his business connections, and his sense of superiority. Just like he did to my father. After he left, Emma stood in the empty cafe, holding his business card. She knew she should throw it away. Getting involved with Damien Cross would be dangerous, messy, and complicated. She had worked so hard to move on from Victor, to build a simple, quiet life. But as she thought about Rebecca pregnant with Victor's baby, about Victor living his perfect life while her own had fallen apart, something dark and angry stirred in her chest. Maybe she wasn't as over it as she thought. Maybe she wanted revenge too. That night, Emma did exactly what Damien had suggested. She researched him thoroughly. What she found shocked her. Damien Cross was one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country. At 32, he had built a technology empire worth billions. He was known for being ruthless in business but fair. He donated millions to charity. And 5 years ago, his family's pharmaceutical company had indeed been acquired and destroyed by Victor's corporation. Instead, he stripped the company for parts, fired everyone, and sold our patents to the highest bidder. My father had a heart attack when he saw what Victor had done. He died 3 months later. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. I'm sorry for your loss. But what does this have to do with me? Victor is untouchable right now. He's too rich, too connected, too powerful. But he has one weakness. Damien's gray eyes locked onto hers. His pride. His image. The same things you attacked 6 months ago. So what? You want me to make another public scene? No. I want you to help me destroy him from the inside. Systematically. Completely. Damien set down his coffee cup. I want you to pretend to be my fiancé. Emma laughed in disbelief. You're insane. Why would I do that? Because Victor has been trying to repair his image since your wedding scandal. He's painted himself as the victim of a jealous, unstable woman. He's dating supermodels and actresses, showing the world he's moved on and thrived. But if you appear on the arm of someone even more successful than him, someone richer, more powerful, more influential, it will drive him crazy. I don't care about making Victor jealous, Emma said firmly. No. Damien pulled out another photo on his phone. It showed Victor and Rebecca together at some fancy event, both smiling and posing for cameras. They're engaged now. She's pregnant with his child. Your cousin is living the life that was supposed to be yours. Emma felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. Rebecca was pregnant. Victor had moved on so quickly, so easily, while Emma had struggled to put her life back together piece by piece. I can see you're not as over it as you claim, Damien observed quietly. But it was something else that caught her attention. A sadness in his eyes. A weight he carried that reminded her of her own pain. Good morning, she said with her practiced customer service smile. What can I get for you? The man studied her for a moment, his intense gaze making her uncomfortable. Black coffee. And information. Information. Emma raised an eyebrow, preparing his coffee. About our menu? About Victor Ashford. Emma's hands froze. She looked up sharply, her heart suddenly racing. Excuse me. The man leaned against the counter, his expression serious. My name is Damien Cross, and I believe we have a common enemy. ####the proposition. Emma set the coffee down carefully, her mind racing. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Damien pulled out his phone and showed her a news article. It was about her wedding scandal, complete with photos of her in her wedding dress, announcing Victor's betrayal. You're Emma Martinez, the woman who exposed Victor Ashford in front of 300 guests. That took courage. It took heartbreak, Emma corrected bitterly. What do you want? To make Victor pay for what he's done. Damien's voice was cold, controlled. Not just to you. To many people. Including my family. Emma came around the counter, checking to make sure no other customers were nearby. Look, Mr. Cross, I appreciate whatever this is, but I've moved on. I'm rebuilding my life. I don't need to get pulled back into Victor's world. Even if it means getting justice? Real justice, not just public embarrassment. What kind of justice? Emma asked suspiciously. Damien took a sip of his coffee, studying her over the rim of the cup. 5 years ago, Victor's company acquired my family's pharmaceutical business. He promised to keep all the employees, to maintain our research programs, to honor my father's legacy. Victor Ashford is a liar and a cheater, Emma continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. And I refuse to marry a man who sees me as nothing more than a prop for his image. So please enjoy the food and drinks. They're already paid for. But there will be no wedding today. She dropped the microphone, which hit the stage with a loud thump, and walked out of the ballroom. She walked through the hotel lobby, past the shocked valets, and out into the street, still wearing her wedding dress. She didn't care where she was going. She just needed to get away. ####6 months later. Starting over. Emma wiped down the counter of Morning Brew, the small cafe where she now worked as manager. 6 months had passed since her ruined wedding, but the scandal had followed her everywhere. The video of her public denouncement of Victor had gone viral. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. Some people praised her courage. Others called her dramatic or attention-seeking. Either way, her life had changed forever. She had lost her job at Victor's company where she had worked in marketing. She had lost her apartment, which Victor had been paying for. She had lost most of her friends, who were also Victor's friends and had chosen his side. Her family had been furious with her for causing such a public scene. Only her younger sister Lily still talked to her regularly. But Emma had survived. She found this job at the cafe, rented a small studio apartment, and slowly began to rebuild her life. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. It was hers. And for the first time in years she felt like she could breathe. The bell above the door chimed, signaling a new customer. Emma looked up from the counter and felt her breath catch. The man who entered was tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair and piercing gray eyes. He wore an expensive suit that probably cost more than Emma made in 3 months. Everything about him screamed wealth and power. Arrangement. The word felt like poison on her tongue. Did you really think this was about love? Victor's mask finally dropped completely. His handsome face twisted into something ugly and cruel. You're beautiful, Emma, I'll give you that. Perfect for photos and charity events. But love? Please. This marriage was always about image. About having the right kind of wife to complete my success story. ##### The public humiliation. Emma felt tears streaming down her face, but she refused to sob. She would not give him the satisfaction. Instead, she straightened her spine, lifted her chin, and walked out of the room with as much dignity as she could gather. She headed straight for the ballroom. The wedding planner tried to stop her, confused about why the bride was walking alone without her father. Emma ignored her. She climbed the small stage where the ceremony was supposed to happen and grabbed the microphone. "Good evening, everyone," she said. Her voice surprisingly steady despite her shaking hands. 300 faces turned toward her, confusion rippling through the crowd. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life." "Emma, what are you doing?" her mother called out, panic in her voice. "I'm telling the truth, Mother." Emma looked out at all the guests. Family members, friends, business associates, society reporters with their cameras ready. "There won't be a wedding today. You see, I just discovered that my fiancé has been having an affair with my cousin Rebecca, who was supposed to be my maid of honor." Gasps erupted throughout the ballroom. Cameras flashed. Emma saw Rebecca trying to slip out the back door, her face pale with shame. Victor appeared at the side of the room, furious, but unable to stop what was happening without making things worse. She burst through the door without knocking. Victor stood there in his expensive tuxedo, adjusting his tie in the mirror. He turned with that charming smile she had fallen in love with so long ago. But now all she could see was lies. "Emma, sweetheart, you're not supposed to see me before the ceremony. It's bad luck," he said smoothly, reaching for her hand. She pulled away as if his touch burned. "Bad luck? You want to talk about bad luck, Victor?" Her voice shook with rage and hurt. She held up her phone, showing him the video. "Explain this." Victor's face went pale, then red. For a moment, real fear flashed in his eyes. Then his expression hardened into something cold and calculating. "Where did you get that? Does it matter? Is it true? Are you sleeping with Rebecca?" Victor sighed, running his hand through his perfectly styled hair. "Emma, you're overreacting. It was a mistake. One time. It meant nothing. One time." Emma laughed bitterly. "The video is dated yesterday, Victor. The day before our wedding. And you're calling it nothing. What do you want me to say?" Victor's voice turned sharp, impatient. "Yes, I slept with Rebecca. She threw herself at me. I'm a man with needs, and you've been so busy with wedding planning. You barely had time for me." Emma felt like she had been slapped. "So this is my fault? I was planning our wedding, Victor. Our future together. And you're blaming me for your betrayal." "Lower your voice," Victor hissed, glancing at the door. "There are 300 people out there. Important people. Business connections. We can deal with this after the wedding." "After the wedding?" Emma stared at him in disbelief. "You actually think I'm going to marry you now?" Victor stepped closer, his jaw tight. "Listen to me carefully, Emma. I've invested too much in this wedding. My reputation is on the line. We're going through with this ceremony, and then we can discuss our arrangement privately. The perfect wedding that never happened." The grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel sparkled with thousands of fairy lights. White roses adorned every surface, filling the air with their delicate perfume. 300 guests sat in elegant chairs, waiting for the ceremony to begin. Everyone whispered about how perfect everything looked. How beautiful the bride would be. How lucky Emma Martinez was to marry Victor Ashford. the youngest billionaire in the city. But inside the bridal suite, Emma's world was crumbling into pieces. Her hands shook as she stared at her phone. The screen showed a video sent anonymously just 20 minutes before she was supposed to walk down the aisle. In the video, her fiancé Victor was kissing another woman passionately in what looked like his office. The woman's face became clear as she pulled away from the kiss, laughing. Emma's stomach twisted violently. It was Rebecca, her own cousin, her maid of honor, who was supposed to be standing beside her during the ceremony. "Emma, it's time," her mother called from outside the door. Her voice filled with excitement and joy that made Emma want to scream. Emma couldn't move. She watched the video again, hoping somehow she had seen it wrong. But no. There was Victor, the man she had loved for 4 years, whispering something into Rebecca's ear that made her giggle. The timestamp showed it was recorded yesterday. Just yesterday, while Emma had been at her final dress fitting, excited about becoming Mrs. Ashford. ####the confrontation. Emma threw open the door, still wearing her wedding dress. The beautiful white gown that had cost $30,000 suddenly felt like a prison. She pushed past her shocked mother and bridesmaids, her veil trailing behind her like a ghost. She could hear gasps and confused whispers as she marched toward the groom's preparation room.